The Midlife Woman's Guide to Creatine, or why this gym bro powder might just be your new best friend. Hi, I'm Kate, and let's talk about something that you may think associated only with the muscle building gym bros, and that is creatine. It's not just for bulging biceps and six packs, it's becoming one of the most exciting supplements for midlife, menopausal women, and beyond. It improves energy, your mood, the ability to develop lean muscle tissue, helps indirectly with bone density, your cognition, your brain focus, you just feel sharper and more energized. Creatine is a bit like the Swiss Army knife of supplements. And today I'm going to dive into a little bit of the science behind it so that you understand why actually it is a really helpful supplement for us. Share some real life stories and also share why really it should be featuring in your kitchen cupboard. So if you've been watching this channel for a while now, you know I love research. I am a total research nerd, and although I have been using creatine myself on and off for the last few years, I personally highly recommend it. However, there's a lot of stuff out there at the moment about creatine, and that's good because I think the more that we understand that it's a beneficial supplement for us, the better educated we are in order to think, okay, what do I need to be aware of with creatine? Is it safe to take? How much should I take? When should I take it? What changes am I going to notice and when, etc., etc. I'm going to dive into that today. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kate. I've been a psychotherapist for around 20 years, menopause mentor and fitness mentor for around 7 to 8 years. And I went through perimenopause early myself. Didn't have a clue about what was going on. Doctors, nurses said, no, it's not perimenopause, you're far too young. And I've had to do a lot of diving into research, experimenting with myself as a guinea pig, and also helping a lot of the women that I used to work with in the health and fitness field with menopause and midlife related issues. I am a huge proponent of lifestyle change. I'm not necessarily anti-HRT or pro-HRT. I do not take it myself. I do focus very much on the lifestyle issues, but I feel even if you take HRT, everything that I share on this channel is going to be beneficial for you. The only thing I would say is, like all medications or all supplements, make sure first of all, if you are under any medications or doctor's care for anything in particular, just run it past your doctor to make sure that they are happy for you to add creatine into your daily regimen if that's something that you want to try out. And before I continue further, say hello to Muffle. That's my old dog. He's 15. Subscribe to the channel if you want to make sure that you don't miss out on future episodes. And if at the end you think, oh, this is quite helpful, please give it a thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. So while I was diving into the research, I love seeing what other people are saying about creatine. I think it's all well and good to see what the manufacturers are writing and the videos put out there by the various brands, but I think when you get the reviews and the comments from real people, and yes, I know we are in a day and age when people buy reviews and reviews are fake. I think these are pretty spot on reviews, and I'm happy to share a few of those with you. One lady, she's in her 50s, she started creatine a week ago. She doesn't actually say the dose that she was taking, but she's saying that already she feels like her mood is better because she has greater clarity. She feels like she's got a little bit more energy and that her sleep has already improved. I think personally that's quite a quick change. Normally, because we have to sort of build up our creatine deposits in the body to sort of saturate, I will go over loading and not loading benefits, pros and cons in a minute, but I thought that was quite fast. However, I saw a lot of people writing very similar stories and mentioning how quickly they were starting to feel better. There could be a placebo effect with that as well. Often when we take something, we do anticipate an improvement. So I think, maybe there's a slight placebo effect with that. But even if there is, I mean, whatever it is, it's great that she's feeling so much better in such a short period of time. One lady did say it was game changing. She's only taking 2.5 grams a day and she had noticed a difference already. She did not state how long she'd been taking it. So I think with all reviews, yeah, there were a lot of very positive reviews. There are a few that mentioned kidney issues. You are taking kidney medication. There are a few studies suggesting that if you have kidney problems, you probably don't want to take creatine unless you've had it approved by your healthcare provider. So creatine is a naturally occurring compound and is found in the muscles and also in our brains. When you take it, your body stores it as phosphocreatine, which helps generate ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is your body's energy currency. It also crosses the blood-brain barrier, which is why we're seeing so many new studies suggesting how important it is for our cognition, even to the extent that for Alzheimer's patients or dementia patients, taking a creatine supplement, I think it was 15%, it improved their cognition. And when you think about it, I mean, 15% is quite a huge amount. Personally, one of the worst things I can think of having is dementia. We've experienced it in the family, and I just think it's a horrible way to decline. And also, given the fact that we have so little control over how we end our days, the thought of being stuck inside a body with a brain that's pretty much gone to pulp is something that I definitely do not want to increase my risks of happening to me. So if creatine is now being scientifically proven to reduce that risk, I'm all for it. So quickly just going over the dosage and the loading. You might hear of creatine loading. That's what a lot of the gym bros do. You know, they want to build up their muscles. They want to sort of saturate their muscles as fast as possible. And so they may take around sort of 20 grams a day for the first 2 weeks to load up, and then they'll back it back to around sort of 5 grams a day. What I would suggest you do, rather than taking 20 grams if you decide you want to take creatine, because it might cause a little bit of digestive disturbance. I've known a few people who said it made them have loose stools because they did take a heavy load straight away. What I would do if I were you is take between 3 and 5 grams a day, see how you get on with it. Give it a couple of weeks. If you find that, oh no, you're a little bit sort of bloated, you might have a little bit of discomfort in your abdomen or your tummy area, always giving you loose stools, then just back it off a little bit down to sort of 2.5 to 3 grams a day, and then gradually build it up to sort of 5, maybe 7 to 10 grams a day eventually. I'm personally not going to take over probably 12 grams a day. At the moment, I take about 8 grams a day, and I take it. I normally have about 3 grams before I do my workout, and then I normally have 5 to 6 grams after I've done my workout. And then if I remember later on in the day, I'll have another scoop. So that's probably about a big scoop. So it's probably about another 3.5 grams there. But I tend to forget about it, to be quite honest, as the day goes on. You also absorb it better if you take it alongside some kind of either healthy carbs or protein or. So when I take mine after my workout, I have it with my muscle recovery protein shakes that's got the branched chain amino acids, which also help contribute to muscle recovery and also building lean muscle, which as we go through menopause is so much harder to do. If you're worried about getting bulky, please do not. You are going to have to work so darn hard if you get remotely bulky. I mean, I strength train 4, 5, 6 times a week. And, you know, I mean, I'm relatively fit, I'm relatively strong. How old am I? 55. I'm halfway there. I'm going to live till I'm 110. But by no way am I like really muscular. It's hard. I'm focusing very much on building lean muscle at the moment. I probably need to get heavier dumbbells in order to achieve that. So I might actually have to do a bit of an investment there. But don't worry, you are not going to get bulky, and you don't have the amount of testosterone in your body in any case to build that kind of muscle. If you are able to lay muscle down easily, then good for you, and I wish I had a little bit of whatever you've got. So what I would suggest you do is start with a smaller dose, between 2.5 to maybe 5 grams a day. See how you get on. If you're happy with that level, keep that going for sort of 2, 3, 4 weeks while your body adjusts, and then you can always then start to incorporate a little bit more. But when I take mine, I have it with my, like I said, my muscle recovery drink, and I also have beetroot powder with that just because it's a great antioxidant. I also have my ashwagandha, which is an adaptogen herb, very good for helping to relax your mental state, and also reishi, which is sort of an immune boosting adaptogenic herb, and I have that with another dose of creatine and also some collagen type 1 and 3. I don't think those make that much difference, but I've got a few packs left, so I'm sort of working my way through them. When I finish those, I was going to replace them with collagen type 2, which is particularly good for your bone cartilage. However, if you watched my video last week, which I will link here on joint health, you will find that there's a lot of supplements that you might be taking for your joint health, which are actually probably wasting money. And I go over the top 2 supplements that are scientifically proven to have fabulous results for cartilage and joint health, sort of midlife and beyond. So check that video out if you want to learn a little bit more about that. The good thing about having it is several times a day is the fact you're not having a huge load at one point. So again, people that I've spoken to in the past who've had the digestive upsets, if you take just a little bit every now and again throughout the course of the day, it obviously you're not loading up so fast, and the body seems better able to, absorb that creatine and take it in. What I would say also is make sure you're drinking plenty of water. You probably naturally will drink more water. It does tend to make you more thirsty. That brings me on to another sort of myth. People say, well, if I take creatine, it's going to make me hang on to more water. So that's going to make me look fatter. I'm going to look more sort of blobby. And actually, that's wrong. What it does hold more water in your muscles. But the good thing about that is we need water in our muscles. And if you're worrying about the number on the scale, you might find that the number might go up a little bit, it might go up a couple of pounds, maybe a little bit more. But bear in mind, yes, you're going to have more water in your muscles, but it's also going to help you build lean muscle. So if you're strength training, which I hope you're doing, because really that is the currency of long life, you really want to be making sure that you're focusing on body recomposition, so making your measurements go down while building lean muscle, which means that the scale might actually start to go up. If you've got one of those smart scales, you can check your muscle mass, your bone density. Those are the best way of having a really good idea of what your sort of your body composition is consisting of. I've always weighed heavy. I did as a baby, and I was always lean. Both my kids, they weighed so heavy. They didn't have blobby bits on them. They were lean, they were strong. I breastfed them both. They all had both had home cooked meals all the time. Whenever I was weaning them, I'd puree vegetables and mix them with breast milk, and then a little bit of meat and mix that with breast milk, etc., etc. And then I would have friends, children who'd come round, and I'd pick them up and nearly chuck them over my shoulder because they weighed so light. I think we are genetically a very bone dense family, but do make sure that you're focusing on your bone density, because that is one of the common problems as you go through menopause and beyond, is that you're at much greater risk of developing osteoporosis. If you can get a DEXA scan, great idea, because then you know where you're at as far as your bone density goes. But one of the things about strength training, not only does it boost your metabolism, so it helps you burn more calories more quickly, it also holds your skeleton in place. And when you've got your muscles and sort of ligaments and tendons pulling, so muscles are attached to tendons, which are then attached to the bones. Ligaments join bone to bone. Those connective tissues do not have an awful lot of blood flow. So by strength training, you're going to be increasing that blood flow, which is going to be very good for them. So you've got fewer risks of tears. You often hear a frozen shoulder in menopause. I'm convinced that is because people are not, on the whole, doing the strength training and the mobility and the recovery exercises that they need to do as they go through midlife and beyond. And it's just one of those things that so many women seem to develop frozen shoulder, adhesive capsulitis, as they go through menopause and beyond. And generally that lasts about 18 months, and then it sort of self-corrects. So when you're thinking about building muscle, you're also thinking about making your bones stronger and more dense, because when a muscle is pulling on the bone via the tendon, you're creating, because our bones are movable tissue. They're not just these brittle things. They are living, movable, flexible tissue. And a flexible bone is a healthy bone. So as we're pulling on them, say if you're doing a bicep curl, that is pulling on my humerus. And by pulling on that, that's also making that bone stronger. So that's why strength training is such an integral part of keeping a healthy bone structure. So back to the original point, make sure you're drinking plenty of water if you are taking on creatine. Make sure that you're giving your body what it needs, and the number on the scale is not representative to your body fat. It could well be because you're holding on to more water in your muscles, not beneath your skin and not in your abdomen. And that is a good thing. Creatine is one of those supplements I would say to not take a break from. So you hear a lot of people say, oh, they cycle their creatine. And I think that is before we started to really understand the benefits of creatine. When it was done heavy loading for the muscle gains for the gym bros. Now we're seeing, because of all these cognitive improvements that creatine can give us, you really want to be taking it, from now onwards. It's helping Alzheimer's patients by 15%. Imagine what it could do to us. So I remember when I started taking it previously, and I did come off it because I wanted to see if I noticed a difference. I did. When I'd been on it for about 6 weeks, I noticed my clarity in my brain came back. And at that stage, I was struggling with quite a lot of menopausal brain fog. I was driving one day and it was just like this veil lifted and I had clarity. It was almost like hallelujah. And it was just maybe it was the creatine that made that happen. I used to be hyper organized when I was younger. And as menopause hit, brain fog was one of my major symptoms. And I just found it even hard to visualize what the concept I was trying to talk about. To even try and string a sentence together or find that word or those words when I was talking. And you're probably familiar with that. It's so frustrating. And I found that after about 6 weeks of creatine, that went. And that is a lot of the what I'm seeing through the research and reading various users' comments around creatine is yes, it's great to have the muscle gains, absolutely fantastic. But more importantly, if it helps your brain stay healthy and age well, then I would think, certainly for me, that is the major reason I would continue to take creatine. Also, if you stop taking creatine, you do lose the benefit. So when I came off it, I just went through a really stressful time in my life, and I just felt like, I felt so fragmented and discombobulated, and it was probably a combination of everything happening to me too. But I kind of wish I'd stayed on the creatine because I think I really would have benefited from it. So about 3 weeks ago, I got a load more creatine, and I've been taking it now pretty much every day. I do forget occasionally. Certainly, I feel more at peace, actually, strangely. That could also be the adaptogen herbs because I combine it with my adaptogen herbs. But I do feel like I have more of a strong foundation beneath me. And my sleep has definitely improved. Not just going to sleep when I get into bed, but also if I wake up at night, which generally I do. I've got pets, they're noisy, they disturb me. I also drink loads of water. So normally I have to get up and have a pee. But before, I would then get back to bed and it would take me ages to go to sleep. At the moment, 10 minutes and I'm back off again. So that could well be down to the creatine. And I've seen a lot of people mention the benefits that they've found in their sleeping habits since they've been taking creatine for men and women. People often ask when to take it. I think if you only take it once a day, and if you're strength training, take it after your workout. Do not add it into hot liquids because that breaks the creatine down into creatinine or tinine. That's not going to be absorbed by your body. So have it in either tepid water or cold water, and you'll find that that will have better absorption. It'll have a better result for you. Because there's a lot being spoken about creatine at the moment, if you've already been buying creatine, you'll notice the prices have gone up and sometimes they're out of stock. It's because all of a sudden people are realizing, wow, if I take 20 grams a day, I'm going to stave off Alzheimer's, I'm going to become superhuman, and my brain clarity is going to improve and go off the charts. But that has meant that a lot of stockists are running out of stock. So if you find a good provider, I will list a few for the UK and the US in a minute. You make sure if you're going to be taking it, if I really would bulk buy a few packs. And I kind of don't want to say that because it means it's going to make it harder for all of us to get hold of creatine. But if you're somebody who really does, value it, I would bulk buy some and get it while you can. So what type to buy? You want creatine monohydrate, just pure creatine monohydrate. I get mine in powder form. You can get them in tablet form, but they tend to have anti-caking agents and maybe other ingredients that you don't want. So the powder form for me, I think, is dead easy. You don't need the super nano creatine keto edition that's priced 3 times as much as everything else. Do make sure you're buying it from a reputable seller. I did a video last week about the joint health supplements. And when I was looking for good quality supplements, it was incredible how misleading some of the marketing labels are. And people that I know have been caught out big time, spending a lot of money on something that actually has just been cleverly labeled and it's not delivering what they think it is delivering. So just be mindful. You just want creatine monohydrate. You don't need anything else. There is a creatine called micronized creatine, which tends to just be a finer powder and that is said to be absorbed slightly more easily by the gut. So, if you struggle with bloating from creatine monohydrate, try the micronized or even the instantized, which is an even finer powder, but it's still creatine monohydrate, probably a little bit more expensive. I would just go with the micronized if you're struggling with bloating or tummy issues. UK brands that I would recommend are Better Vits. Their creatine monohydrate is micronized. I get mine from bulk. There is nothing extra in it. It is just creatine monohydrate, but it is not micronized. There are tablets from a company called New Leaf, and that is creatine monohydrate, but they do contain bulking agents. So I would go with the powder instead rather than the tablet. In the US, there are brands such as Smart Creatine. That is the instantized creatine monohydrate. So the sort of super fine powder, but it's probably going to be a bit more pricey. But if you have a sensitive stomach, that might be the one you want to go for. And the Thorn creatine, actually, you can get Thorn in the UK as well, and that is a micronized creatine. And also, it's got the labels that suggest it's going to be a healthy manufacturer to buy from. A lot of people ask me, can we not get enough creatine from our diet? Because we do naturally create it. You would have to eat about about a kilo of salmon or meat every single day in order to get enough creatine. Creatine supplements are especially beneficial if you're vegetarian or vegan, but for also us omnivorous folk, I would highly recommend you take a creatine supplement because generally we don't create enough in order to get the muscle, the bone, the brain, and the sleep benefits from it that we would necessarily get from our food. I also saw a few reports from people taking the GLP-1 drugs, the weight loss drugs, and one of the side effects of those are brain fog. And people taking the GLP-1s are finding that by taking creatine too, that it is helping with their cognition and their memory, just their brain function in general, just making them feel a little bit more in control. Naturally, when you stop eating probably as much as you were doing, or when you're restricting what you're eating, because technically that's what the GLP-1 drugs do, they help you get rid of your appetite. So you end up not eating as much. Whenever you don't eat enough or as much food, one of the first things that will happen is that you become foggy in your brain. And with the creatine, that is sort of helping to combat that. The other thing I would say, if you're taking GLP-1 drug, and I did quite a big video about that not long ago because I was weighing up the benefits of mulberry leaf tea, which helps regulate your blood sugar versus the GLP-1 drug. And it wasn't pros, cons, it was just sort of an open debate about them. So I will link that here. I think that comes up here or there. I'll link it. And then if you want to watch that, you can do. But essentially, when you're on the GLP-1 drugs, it's so important that you do make lifestyle changes, but if you're not strength training yet, that you start. Even if you have significant weight to lose, just start with some air squats and maybe some lunges. Just do a few moves every single day so that you can start to build up your muscle mass. Because when you come off your GLP-1s, and certainly in the UK, the guideline is to be on them for 2 years, and it has a nearly 100% failure rate because people have not made those lifestyle changes while they've been taking the GLP-1 drugs. Because you're not eating as much as you were doing, it's not just helping you lose fat, you're breaking down muscle and also bone tissue. So strength training is even more important for you if you take these GLP-1s, and creatine could also help you create more muscle mass by, being an extra supplement that you take with your GLP-1. So I would run it past your healthcare provider first, just to make sure that they're happy with that and that you're not taking any other drugs that might interfere with it, particularly if you're diabetes too. But on the whole, those people taking GLP-1 for weight loss find that creatine is a really helpful additional supplement and a safe supplement to enhance their journey through their weight loss, and also creating those healthy lifestyle changes to anchor you in when you come off those GLP-1 drugs. So just to summarize, I would take, if you're not taking it already, between 2.5 to 5 grams of creatine a day. Ideally, take it after your workout if you're doing your strength training. Just a quick one on that one. Even if you don't strength train, still take your creatine because of the cognition, the brain health benefits it brings. So ideally, you're strength training, but if you're not, let's have a healthy brain. So 3 to 5 grams a day. And if you do strength train, take it after your strength training workout, and also ideally combine it with some healthy starchy carbs and or some lean protein, or ideally your protein shake after you've finished your workout. Make sure it's creatine monohydrate with no extra ingredients in it. Drink plenty of water, avoid adding it into hot drinks. So if anybody ever says to you, oh, creatine, that's just for the gym bros or the bodybuilders, just tell them you're not chasing the six pack, you're chasing the life, which gives you sufficient energy to enjoy your wine in the evening. I'll list the studies beneath this video. If you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss future episodes. If you've got anything you would like me to cover in a future episode, please leave it in the comments beneath here and I'd be glad to add that into my rotation. Thank you so much for your company. Let's get strong, let's get super clear in our brains, and let's start adding the white powder, healthy white powder, into our daily regimen. See you soon.